Okay. Let's start with my first note. Facts, thoughts, feelings. Those are the three words. That's my entire note. If I remember correctly, though, what this is referring to is saying that facts happen first, then there's observation, event, reality, passes through the filter of thought. You have a thought about this observation. You have a thought about this event. And then the thought triggers feelings in that order. So sometimes, not always, but sometimes if something has evoked a strong emotion in you, or weak, you should first analyze what thought it is you have about the event or observation that is giving you these feelings, and whether or not that is the event is actually worthy of an emotional reaction from your worldview. Because as much as unimportant of individuals we truly are from an outside perspective, we don't live life from an outside perspective. We live life from an inside perspective. So in things that are important to us and are not important to others should be decided for us. So simple thing is, let's say one of the things you should think about is paying rent. This is honestly completely unimportant to everybody else, but it is important to you. So as long as you can't pay rent, then you should have thoughts and feelings about what you're going to do to solve that. Now, I mean, whether or not you should be anxious is a different story, because I talk a lot about how you shouldn't be anxious, but also you should probably be concerned, right? So, but the point is this. You should decide whether or not that thing is actually worth being important to you from your perspective. For example, starving children in Africa. It is an important issue, but objectively it's not important to me insofar as I can't take care of my own needs first. Only when my needs are, when I can take care of my rent and my food, would I then be able to remotely start thinking about helping other people. I'm not saying the starving kids in Africa don't deserve food, but I'm saying it doesn't deserve my attention in my current state of life. That's just, and like as an individual, that's just how life goes. If like it's true that you should help people who are in need, absolutely, within your means. Within your means. So for example, I will help someone carry the groceries because that is within my means and it's convenient, but I won't drive down a block to help someone carry groceries. I mean, technically it is within my means. Or I mean, if it's someone I know. If it's a random stranger, then probably not going to do it. And so on and so forth. Other things. Let's say it rains. You have a thought and goes, today is going to suck. And then you start feeling bad. Probably not a worthwhile thought, not a reasonable thought, not a worthwhile feeling based on the event. So you look at the event, look at your thought, and then see if that's actually a reasonable feeling. This is particularly relevant for negative feelings and sometimes semi-positive feelings. I'll give you another example. Maybe you're dealing with a breakup. Maybe you should feel bad, but if you're crazy and want to do horrible things to that person, maybe you should do some analysis. Okay. So this one is, again, about Jim Rohn. Actually, the previous one might have been too, but this one I remember what he said. Success is an ocean, and if you aren't prepared, that's the same as showing up with a teaspoon. Right. I think this is basically referring to how you work hard, right? So, for example, let's say you have a teaspoon, and your job is to get water from the ocean. So you start going to the ocean and taking the teaspoon and bringing the water back and going every day. Or you could spend a day, or spend some time to make a bigger spoon. Or you can spend more time to make a bucket. Or you can spend more time to buy a car and then drive that bucket. Or you can spend it, or if you have enough resources, you can make a water supply system that takes water from the ocean on its own, and so on and so forth. And I think that's basically how I understand this message. Obviously, not everyone can do all of those things, but you should look to find the ways you can improve your ability to change the efficiency rather than focusing on the act itself. Look for ways to improve your capacity every time you go rather than just doing it more, right? Rather than increasing the number of trips, find ways to make each trip more valuable, which is essentially what they mean when they say make yourself more valuable. So maybe sometimes rather than looking to do more hours with the same amount of pay, look for ways to improve your worth per hour, right? Okay. Next, happiness is letting go of unhappiness, right? So happiness isn't something that you can chase. It's about removing the things that cause you unhappiness by means of acceptance or by means of sometimes achievement. For example, if you can't afford rent, you have essentially two options. You can either live somewhere cheaper, which is by moving, or make more money. So sometimes it does require change and requires more. Other times, however, it requires removing things that are simply not worth it. I'll give you an example. If you scroll Instagram and look at people who have better houses than you, who are always out on vacation, showing curated images or show images of their body with filters and edits, and comparing your weight, maybe, your figure, maybe, your face, maybe, to theirs, or maybe, you're comparing yourself to these people, or maybe if you so in this example, maybe you should just stop scrolling Instagram and looking at these people. Or maybe if you are scrolling through the internet or like YouTube and always seeing the people who made $100,000 from crypto, not showing the people who lost all their money doing crypto, because that's how it works. Their money came from somewhere, and that money came from people who lost money doing crypto. That's mathematically how it works. So, and the thing is that the people who make money doing crypto are much more likely to make videos, and the people who lose all of their money doing crypto are highly unlikely to make videos. And these people who started off poor and suddenly made $100,000 off of crypto are likely to have invested some things that they couldn't afford to lose. And if you look at the people if you were actually to see the people who don't post the videos, they probably lost more than they were willing to lose. There might be some other people who go, I have the spare cash and I'm going to invest $1,000 for content, but that's not really what you look at and make yourself unhappy doing. Or if you look at maybe companies that you hate and their successes, or even if you look at people you hate and look at their failures, and that brings you a good feeling, it's not a good feeling coming from a positive place either. Like if you look at idiots getting roasted on social media, that can give you like some dopamine, but it's not really, it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't actually because it still makes you aware of all the people you dislike. It doesn't actually make you walk away going, oh yeah, I have less unhappy factors in my life. It just makes you go, oh yeah, good on them for making the people I hate get things, get just their just desserts or whatever. So it's removing positive negative influences. Another example is maybe if you're really stressed with your work, your homework, your assignment, your project, the deadline, and I mean, you can't just remove the project probably, but you can take a step out, take in the fresh air, look at the green grass, and it would probably help. The other thing is that the pursuit of happiness in the, not always, but in the more generic perception of it, like most people when they hear it, the basic way they understand it or what they think of, the experience they imagine, it is ultimately very negative because pursuits are meant to be eternal, right? Pursuits are meant to be something that you continue doing. Or I mean, I guess you could pursue things that you just achieve, but a lot of the time, if you put the meaning in the pursuit, then it's either going to make you feel empty when you get it, or you're not really going to pursue the right things. And I'll give you an example. If you pursue $1 million, you're either not going to reach it, or when you reach it, you're gonna not know what to do, even though you go, oh yeah, I could just retire when I have $1 million. And it's likely that you're not going to. You're probably going to move the goalpost, and that's how most people do. So, and I will quote, this is not my quote, but their proposed alternative is, and obviously, so in this case, the pursuit of happiness is to put yourself in the presumed state of not having reached happiness, rather than pursuing something wherein the pursuit makes you feel fulfilled and therefore happy in the more ephemeral sense, but not really, because happiness is such a, it's almost kind of overrated the way it's portrayed. Now, I'm not saying you should be unhappy, but this ephemeral idea of happiness is almost like the romanticizer's idea of romance, which is like, this thing is going to happen to me. I'm going to one day, this event like Jesus descends is going to happen, and I'm gonna live happily ever after. Like, everything's gonna be magical, and everything's gonna be perfect. I'm gonna be in a state of happiness forever. That's just not how it goes. So, just like how Stephen mentions that Bartlett in Diary of a CEO mentions how he would rather take the journey he had to get to where he is now over the $300 million he had at the end of the journey, rather than take, whereas before he started the journey, he would have obviously taken the money. And now, not only would he have chosen the journey over the destination today, now that he's gone through the journey, he also wouldn't take the journey again today, because those things that he did without the meaning and purpose he had back then would no longer be meaningful. So it wasn't the actions he was doing that made him happy. It was the reason he was doing the actions that made the actions have meaning, and therefore he remembers those memories fondly, not because what he was doing was fun, but because why he was doing it made what he was doing worth doing. So, in summary, I guess this goes back to Simon Sinek's Find Your Why, but in summary, if you pursue happiness, it puts you in the presumed state of not having it. Whereas if you pursue things like knowledge, then or some other grander thing that you're not, wherein the process of pursuit is in itself something that can make that whatever you're doing to achieve that goal worth doing, and therefore something that you will consider having been happiness when you look back on it. And furthermore, that can vary. So maybe you want to play. Maybe you want to be a musician, but not so much being a musician as in with the title of being a musician, but as in the process of spending as much of your time with music as possible. And to expedite that, you need to find a way to make money through doing music so that you don't have to do a job and then do music. So rather than saying I want my job or like I want my career to be a musician, it's I want to play music, and then I'll find a way to make money doing that without compromising my pursuit of playing music. Or as an example, right? Obviously, I don't do music. I don't recommend doing this unless you love music a lot. I think very few people, including musicians, actually love music so much they would pursue it in this particular way. But my point is just you shouldn't look at it as rather than looking at it the title, it's what do you want to do, and then it's how can I make what I want to do something that I can do more of without having to support it. Right. It's like, it's not like I want this job. It's I want to do this thing, and if I had this job, I could do this thing and also live with and cover my expenses by proxy at the same time. So decide what you want to do. Wait, why did I mention this? Oh, yes, happiness. Don't pursue happiness. Pursue something else that will make you happy through the process of pursuing that thing. Same with right. No, how did I get sidetracked so far? No, it's happiness is letting go of the things that make you unhappy. That was the original topic. Yes. So if you say doing an 8-hour job and only spending 1 hour playing music at the end makes you unhappy, then find a way to change that. Or maybe say that my neighbor's dog is always barking and that makes me very unhappy. Maybe it's okay for a dog to bark. Like, maybe I'll close my window. Maybe I'll play some music. Maybe I'll just not hear it, rather than sitting there and deciding that now this event is happening to you and therefore you can't be happy so long as this event is true. You externalize your ability to be happy by predicating on whether or not their dog barks. Okay. Or maybe say, I don't like what the government is doing. I don't like the laws. If only the laws changed, I would be happy. Well, maybe some laws will slightly change, and maybe some of them you'll slightly like, but you're not ever going to go, oh yeah, this government is the shit. They've completely changed everything they're doing, and now I can be happy. That's not going to happen. That's an unrealistic expectation. So some things you can change, or some things you can let go of your expectations for. Example, maybe you're in a relationship and maybe when they walk, I don't know. What's an example of, they have some small habit that really bothers you. Maybe, you can change your expectations of the relationship so that it's either small, you can try to have them stop the habit, or you can find a new relationship. Those are your 3 options. Whichever one you feel is most appropriate is the one you take. And this applies to basically anything that makes you unhappy. You can find a way to change it, find a way to change your expectations, or find a way to change the fact that you are in proximity of it. Those are the 3 options. Example with the politician is you can change countries, you can change the policies, or you can say that it's not within your degree of control, or not worth putting within your degree of control because of the effort it would take to make it within your domain of control, and therefore you're going to be unbothered by it. Okay. Security. Okay, yes. The act of desiring security is in itself a insecurity. Yes. So the act of desiring confidence, wherein just means that you're not confident. If you want security, it means that you're insecure. And the solution is not exactly simple. I'm not sure why I wrote this down, but like if you want a stable income, like if not having a stable income makes you feel very bothered, then you'll have to do a job that has a stable income. But if you had something that sometimes makes more money and sometimes make less, but you have the confidence that you'll figure things out, then you won't actually need a stable income, because you won't feel insecure about your ability to procure sufficient funds to live within any given period. So especially with a buffer room. So if you're secure about your earning capacity, you won't worry too much about your short-term savings. If you're secure about your ability to find a new relationship partner, you won't be insecure about them leaving. And actually, as long as you don't even have to be secure about finding a new partner to be insecure about them leaving. If you say that you'll be fine with if they leave, then you won't be clingy or desperate, which would actually reduce the probability. So this actually goes back to the idea that whatever you think about more, you are actively making it more likely to happen. So if you believe that things will go well, you're more likely to take the actions that will make it go well. And that the actions can be as simple as having a mindset. And my favorite example for this is simply the one I brought up yesterday with negative experiences. If you expect that an experience will be negative, you are currently in the act of making it negative by believing it will be negative. Simply because the act of believing it will be a negative experience is in itself a negative experience, and it is already fulfilled. Like you are already in the process of fulfilling the prophecy. Looking at the trees, you will crash into the trees. Looking at the path, you will fall. You will not crash into the trees. So if you focus on the potential of losing your relationship in this example, then you will likely lose the relationship, because the way you'll act, the way you'll talk, the way you'll think will push them away. Another example, if you are constantly worried about losing your job, now you can still do other interviews, other job offers if you don't like your job. If you think that it is possible for you to lose your job, that's fine. But if you're constantly worried about losing your job, then you're going to be acting in a way that will make it more likely for you to lose your job. Now, that doesn't mean you should act like you will definitely not lose your job. You can still take in safety precautions, like not living paycheck to paycheck. You can take safety precautions such as having a severance pay in your contract if that was the job, if that was an option for you, or having other options by taking other interviews and sending out other applications just in case, and so on and so forth. So if you're worried about dropping out of school, actually that one is true, because if you're always worried about dropping out of school, you're going to be taking a lot of mental space away from actually learning the subjects that you're studying, right? If you're always worried about your business failing, you're going to be taking so much mental space away from thinking about what it takes to succeed. You're going to be thinking all about what happens if you fail, what to do if you fail, how to save yourself if you fail, having a plan B, trying to do things that are desperate to avoid failing, because essentially grasping at straws rather than doing anything meaningful long term. I mean, not to say that you shouldn't have safety measures, but you can do that from a place outside of insecurity. For example, let's say I don't think I'm gonna die within the next. I don't think I'm gonna crash my car, but I can still get car insurance. But that doesn't mean that when I'm driving every single minute, I have to go, I'm going to crash my car. I can't crash my car. Oh my God. I really don't want to crash my car, right? That's basically the difference. It's like, I'll be fine, but I'll have car insurance because I need it. Also because it's mandatory by law. But that aside, you get the point. Okay. What the heck is this note supposed to mean? Breathe? Breath? Breathing out? Yeah, I have no idea what this note means. Okay. Feelings like joy and anger don't last. Sadness, anxiety, etc. can last because they're symptoms and not feelings. Right, yes. So, let's say you hit your arm. Then it's gonna hurt, but it goes away. But if you have something that is like, if you have a clamp around your arm that is slowly tightening, it's going to hurt until the clamp is gone. So, it's the feelings that last aren't feelings, they're symptoms. Feelings don't last. Symptoms last insofar as the things that cause them still exist. And I guess that's how therapy works, right? It's like you're supposed to, as long as you feel a certain way about certain events in the past, then unless you change the way you feel about that thing, you're not going to feel better about those things. It's like maybe your parents left you, so now you're always, the way you treat human relationships, and not romantic ones only, you don't want to be abandoned, so now you either always leave people behind or you're more clingy. And so that's persists until you realize that where it comes from and change the way you think about what happened. For example, that's my understanding of therapy. Okay. Okay. I'll call it a day.